If you want to fix golfer's elbow or tennis elbow, then this is for you. I've personally rehabilitated forearm tendinopathy on both the medial and lateral sides of both of my arms. I know what I'm talking about, and this stuff works.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.
So the thing about tendinopathy, golfer's elbow or tennis elbow, is that it is usually basically an abusive load that's caused the tendinopathy to flare up, and it's a really nasty injury to deal with. Unfortunately, rest is not best when it comes to tendinopathy, so a lot of people have got stories of that they'll rest and the pain goes away, and what's happening there really is that the inflammation's going away, but then they'll go back to doing what they were doing before that caused the tendinopathy, and it just comes straight back again. And the reason why is because a lack of conditioning. It's a lack of load tolerance. So you haven't built up load tolerance in the tissue, and then when you do what would be an abusive load for you, and it can be as simple as, just basic, working on the tools if you're a tradesperson. But in the gym, it's most commonly caused by pulling movements like pull-ups, like weightlifting, things like that. And it's really nasty because resting the pain goes away and you think, okay, I've gotten better now, and then you go back to training again and it just comes straight back. So what you need to do is increase your load tolerance, and there's a bunch of different ways to do that. But that's the basic strategy. And what I'm going to show you in this video is there's going to be three components to what I'm about to show you. The first thing is trigger point release. So I'm going to show you how to do some trigger point release that works really well for tendinopathy. Then I'm going to show you how to strengthen the scapular stabilizers, because a part of the abusive load that a lot of people deal with, especially with golfer's elbow, is that they don't have good scapular stabilization strength. So when they're doing pulling movements like pull-ups, the scapula isn't doing its job properly, and that puts more load into the elbow. The body tries to basically do the pulling movement with more of the elbow, which puts a lot of abuse into the forearm tendons, the forearm flexor tendons. So that's the second part of this video. Then the next part that we're going to do is we're going to go through some basic strengthening exercises so that you can increase the strength, hypertrophy your muscles a little, and basically increase your load tolerance of the muscles that are affected by tendinopathy. So for trigger point release, what we're going to do, now I went through, I'll just really quickly, I'll tell you my background with tendinopathy. First I got golfer's elbow from working on one-arm pull-ups, and I had no idea how to deal with tendinopathy back then, and I just kept going until it got to a point where there was no way I could do anything that involved pulling. Like, I couldn't grab onto a bar and pull even to there without being in excruciating pain. I couldn't do any bicep curls or anything, and it really messed me up. I had to take about 6 months off training the things that I wanted to do, and I had to just work on all these rehabilitation exercises, and then another 6 months of getting me back to where I wanted to be. Then after that, I developed lateral tendinopathy or tennis elbow, and I had to go through the same process again, but this time I understood what I was doing because I'd worked with some great physios. So that's my experience, and I've had that in both arms, and now I have absolutely nothing, not any symptoms of tendinopathy at all. I can do everything that I want to do without any problems. And one of the things that really helped for me was trigger point release with a kettlebell. So let's say if I'm dealing with my golfer's elbow, and you have to really sort of twist yourself over with this one, I would get a kettlebell like this and basically just roll it around and find the spots that hurt. And it depends who you speak to as to how effective this is. When I've spoken to certain physios, they tell me that manual therapy for tendinopathy, for forearm tendinopathy, doesn't really do much. Hey, in case we haven't met, my name is Rad Burmeister. I'm one of the founders of Unity Gym and the co-creators of the UMS, the Unified Movement System, where we make driven people strong, flexible, and fit. If you want to know how we do that, grab one of our free downloads. Click on the link to get any of our blueprints, or if you want to grab one of our programs, click the link to look at our library of strength, flexibility, fitness, calisthenics, injury rehab programs. We've got a lot of really good stuff out there for you. And if you're a high achiever and ready to get started with online coaching, then click the link and get a 30-day free trial of our UMS online coaching program, where you'll get coached by me and my team personally, and you'll get access to our exclusive 1-hour daily workouts where we periodize your programming every 4 weeks to make you an athlete. So whether this is anecdotal or not, it really helped me, and it's helped several people that I've shown it to that also had tendinopathy. So it's something that, you know, I don't think it's really going to cause you any problems, even if a physio might say that it's not that useful. For me, it worked really well. It really helped to alleviate some of the pain and discomfort and allow me to get on with my training. And then, of course, with the tennis elbow, you can just do it up here. And I found that when I started doing this, man, I had some wicked trigger points in my forearms, things that I obviously hadn't dealt with for a lifetime of activity, but never having gotten in here with a trigger point. And it's funny because now that I do it now, I'm barely feeling any discomfort at all, maybe a 1 or a 2 out of 10 for discomfort. This is a 16 kilo kettlebell, I guess about 35 pounds. When I started doing this at first, it was agonizing. It was so painful for me. So there's definitely a level of tissue remodeling that went on there for me doing this daily or every second day. And I do recommend it. I found that it was a really useful tool for getting over my tendinopathy. So that's the first thing. The second thing that is a really good tool, now we need to look at training the scapular stabilizers. And for this, we're going to do a scapular pull-in or active hanging. So what we want to do for a scapular pull-in is to grab onto something that you can hang from, keep the elbows completely straight, and we want to pull up, slow and controlled, hold for a couple of seconds, and then back down, slow and controlled. You want to go to full shoulder elevation, scapular elevation, keeping the elbows completely straight, pulling up as high as you can without bending the elbows, holding for a few seconds, and then back down. Okay, so the most important thing here by a long shot is that your elbows do not bend. So you do not want to, even like this, what's this? Even that small amount of bend in the elbow is really not what you're trying to do, and that would be considered a no rep, okay? So what we're looking for from here is to be able to come up, hold for a couple of seconds, and then back down. Up, hold for a couple of seconds, and then back down. Now, before I continue on, because there's a lot of devils in the dosage with all of this, how much of this should you do? With the trigger point release, I'd recommend seeing how you respond to it. So I was doing it daily towards the, after I'd gotten used to it, and start very light. So maybe if you start with maybe 8 kilos or 18 pounds, whatever that is, 16 pounds. And maybe do it every second day and see how you feel from it. If it feels worse tomorrow when you do it than it did today, don't do it for a couple of days and see how you go. As far as the hanging goes, the active hanging, you can do that every day because we're not really working to hypertrophy the muscle. We're working on the neuromuscular connection to remind the brain of how to control the muscles that stabilize the scapula, that pull the scapula down into depression and work with that pulling movement pattern so that we're not relying all on, not all, but we're not relying too much on the muscles that control elbow flexion. So you can do that daily. And what you want to look for is an accumulated 30 to 90 seconds of time. So what do I mean by an accumulated time? So I'm not saying do 3 sets of X amount of reps. It's try to get between 30 and 60 seconds of total time up there. So for a lot of people when they start, they'll barely be able to do 15 seconds or 20 seconds. So if that was you, you'd want to do 2, 3, 4 sets of that. And you just want to see how you feel. You want to see how your body responds to it. And eventually you'll get up to a point where you can do 60 to 90 seconds in one go. And that's really, really good. It's a really good thing to do daily. So the next thing, the third and fourth exercise, now we're going to move on to some basic stuff, but really, really important. And that's just bicep and curls and tricep extensions. So what I want to do here is, we want to have our little fingers at the end of the weight. So you can see how there's a little bit of space between my thumb and the end of the weight. So that would be having my thumb at the end of the weight. We want the little fingers at the end of the weight, and we're going to do a supinated grip bicep curl, and we're going to grip as hard as we can with the little finger. So of course all the fingers are going to grip onto the dumbbell, but we're really gripping hard with the little finger, okay? And we're just going to do some standing dumbbell bicep curls. There's so many different variations of bicep curls that you can do, of course, and periodization is key, but that's not the topic of this video of how to periodize training. So we're just going to go through the basic rehabilitation process and conditioning process. So what you want to look for when you do your bicep curls, whether you do, it doesn't matter whether you're on a bench and you're doing, a 60-degree bicep curl, or if you're on a preacher curl or whatever it is, you want to make sure that the humerus, so the upper arm from the shoulder to the elbow, stays vertical. So watch this. This is what we're looking for. We're looking for that up, we're looking for full extension at the bottom, so you go all the way down and then coming up as far as you can without moving the upper arm around. So this is incorrect. Watch this. Okay, so the upper arm moving around. I don't think I've ever really, actually I have seen people do that. So bringing the humerus forward as you come up. You want to keep that humerus still. So it could be here, it could be here. Neither of those are right or wrong. Okay, there's no reason to do it back here. That would actually deload the biceps. So anywhere from here, forward, whatever, but keep the upper arm still, okay? And what you want to look for with your bicep curls, you want to start with a higher rep range and a low weight. So probably start with about that 10 to 12 rep range. And as you get stronger and the conditioning increases, we want to look for reducing it down to the 6 to 8 rep range, and then even the 4 to 6 rep range eventually. So, and then the last one, and before I talk about how heavy you should go, I'll just show the tricep extension. So for this one, we do have the thumb at the end of the weight, so thumb at the end of the weight for this one. And we're just going to lay down, and the upper arm stays still, just like it did for the bicep curl. Okay, and what we're looking for here, again, is full range of motion. So we want to try and get that dumbbell right down until it touches the shoulder, and then back up. And we want to try and do that without moving the upper arm. See how my upper arm's moving around as I do this? That's incorrect, okay? Keep that upper arm still. Make sure that the tricep is what's controlling that movement, okay? With the bicep curl and tricep extension, aim for a 3-second eccentric, like what I'm doing here, and then a 1-second concentric. 1, 2, 3, 1, okay? Now, how heavy should you be going? When you do your bicep curls and tricep extensions, you want to be looking to actually experience a little bit of the pain that you're trying to fix from the tendinopathy. So what we say is no more than a 4 out of 10 pain. Now everybody's experience of pain is different, so it's hard to say what your 4 out of 10 is versus mine. But the question that most people ask is, how do I know if I've gone too far? If the next day, if the tendinopathy is feeling worse than it did the day before when you're not doing any exercise, then you've gone too far. And it's not a big deal. It's just learn from it. Go, okay, well, 10-pound weights were too much. I'm going to do 7.5 pound next time, or whatever it is. So a 4 out of 10 pain is enough to experience a little bit of pain, but you're not killing yourself. For a seasoned veteran in the gym, you're probably going to be lifting a lot lighter than what you're used to lifting. And remember that with tendinopathy is characterized by it's painful when you start the workout, but once you warm up, you don't feel that much pain anymore. So you've got to be very, very careful of that, because often when tendinopathy is quite bad and it's quite far along, people will do their first rep or first couple of sets and they'll think, oh my God, this pain's horrible. And then by the time they get to their second or third set, they're like, oh, this is feeling good now. And then they go really hard and they're just smashing themselves more and making it worse. So you're looking for that no more than a 4 out of 10 pain, but you should be experiencing a little bit of that discomfort that you're trying to fix when you're doing that bicep curl and tricep extension. And for those ones, you could start with doing it maybe twice a week, increase to 3 times a week, and then eventually you could even do it 4 or 5 times a week. Again, because we're trying to build up that load tolerance now, and that is load management. That's a way of managing the load tolerance, is by increasing the frequency of the exercise. And I would personally do that before trying to increase how much weight you lift. So I'd look at trying to go from twice a week to 3 times a week first. And then the last exercise that we're going to do is the forearm flexion and extension. So having the little fingers at the end of the weight like that, and we're going to let the weight, we want to keep the upper arm, the forearm, completely still on here, so we want to avoid this kind of movement, okay? And all the movement's going to happen in the fingers and the wrists. So from here, I'm going to curl all the way up so that my fists are tight, and then I'm going to flex my wrist, come back down as far as they go, and then open the fingers, and that actually gives you a little bit more range. So curl the fingers in until I'm gripping tight, flex the wrists all the way, back down and release, okay? And for this one, we go for about 12 to 15 reps to start with, and then what we do, and this is way too much weight for me, but I'll try and do 1 or 2 reps. So actually no, look at that, I've gotten stronger, it's not that bad. I've got 5 kilos here, it's about 10 or 11 pounds. Back when I was doing my tendinopathy training, this would have been way too much weight for me, so I've obviously gotten stronger. So this is the opposite movement, and generally speaking, you're about half as strong in wrist extension, this is wrist extension, as you are in wrist flexion. So if I could, just do 12 reps on 5 kilo or 10 or 11 pounds, whatever that is, of wrist extension, then I'd probably be doing 10 kilos or 22 pounds over here for wrist flexion. It's a general rule of thumb. It's not exact, but most people are about that. And again, for this one, you can do 2 to 3 sets twice a week, and then you can increase the frequency to 3 times a week or more than that. So what I've just shown you is a really, really good strategy for management of golfer's elbow or tennis elbow, forearm tendinopathy. I'm not a physio, I'm not a doctor, I'm a trainer, but because I've experienced this myself and very badly, it got really bad for me, and then I worked with physios, and because we work with great physios here from adpt.physio, sports physios here, I'm able to ask questions all the time and work through things. And that's what allowed us to create this strategy that we've now passed on to many, many people around the world, and it works really, really well. But you've got to accept that it takes time. And if you've developed the tendinopathy, if it's been something that you've been dealing with for a month or so, it's probably not going to take that long to go away. But if it's something that you've been dealing with for many months, like 6 months, 9 months, or even years, then it's absolutely going to take longer to go away. So you've got to strap yourself in and accept that this is going to take time. It's not something that you're going to start doing and expect to see a magic pill result in 3 or 4 weeks. You need to be prepared to do the work and just be patient with it, and it will gradually get better and better and better. Let us know how you go. If you've got any questions, of course, hit us up in the comments, and we'll see you in our next video. Thanks for watching.